Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. How are you all doing? It's Amanda. Hope you're well. Today is the 30th of January 2023, and we are going to settle down today to do a Heart Squad video. Heart Squad, a group of beings who have passed over, who come back with teaching and moments of connection for us. And today it's going to be the second visit from Marilyn Monroe. I did the first channeling with her in just towards the end of 2023. And if you haven't seen that video, it was called Channeling Marilyn Monroe, Venusian Queen. And I will link it below. But in that, yes, we discussed some of her origins linked into the planet Venus. We looked at past lives with her, particularly as an older woman in China. We talked about the color frequency of rose gold as being a way to connect to her. Although today I've got a new way because we've created a aura spray to also help you deepen your connection with her. We talked about sisterhood. We talked about authenticity, her love of children. And one thing that's probably relevant for this video, which is going to be featuring we're going to be talking to her about the mother wound, also about sisterhood. And if we've got time, we're also going to talk about aging. In fact, I think we will be talking about aging because I've just had breakfast and I was watching an interview with Stephanie Beacham, and she was talking about aging. She looked pretty good, actually. And she was making the point that whatever we do to our outward appearance, of course, you can't change the skeletal age. That does deteriorate as we get older. It's just the natural cycle of life. But anyway, shout out to Stephanie. She looked great, I thought. And definitely this video is also linked into sisterhood. So it's about praising other women, not pulling other women down. So quite a lot to cover in this video, and I said I was going to do it a couple of weeks ago, so I've actually received quite a lot of questions from you, and I'm going to read some of those questions out and just go straight into the channeling. Before we do that though, I would just like to say thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate your support. If you would like to like the video, it helps to get it out to more people. And welcome to all the new subscribers that we have here. It's a lovely community, and I hope that you're going to be enjoying your time with me and the community. So I'm going to start by showing you the Marilyn Monroe Heart Squad spray that we have created. Those of you that are new to my channel, you might not appreciate or know that in 2012, I created a range of colour, aura, healing and connection sprays. They were in particular linked into the energy of Archangel Metatron, who is my main guide, and they incorporate many different healing modalities, I suppose, within them, whether it be you're looking for chakra support, whether you're looking for support with grief, depression, the divine feminine, or you're wanting to connect into some of the masters. We've probably got a spray for most things, but what I like to do from time to time, particularly for very prominent members of the Heart Squad, is bring forward a spray. They don't tend to stay with us forever, so we just make a limited number of the batch, unless they're particularly popular, and then we might bring them back again. The most popular ones over time have been the Bob Marley Heart Squad spray, the Michael Jackson Man in the Mirror spray we've made quite a few batches of, and maybe Marilyn will also prove to be another one that keeps on coming, as it were. But let me show you what it is firstly, and I'm going to read a channeled message for it, and I'll tell you what the essential oils are and the crystal essences are within it, because it also helps us at the start of this video to connect into her energy, and for me to also connect into her energy. Okay. Also, just a shout out to that beautiful piece of artwork on my wall, which is new since the first channeling I did with her. That was sent to me by Jodie. Jodie, thank you very much. She hasn't got a shop up and running yet, but I will put her email below, which she said was okay. And if you're interested in her doing a piece of work for you, a commissioned piece of artwork, then you can email her. But yeah, it's gorgeous, isn't it? And it definitely has the energy of the rose gold, which we were talking about in video 1. Anyway, a second piece of artwork that is on this particular spray is from another lady who follows me called Mary. Again, I will link her Facebook page below. She also does beautiful channeled artwork of prints. But anyway, she did this one of Marilyn a while back for me. And we chose and asked whether we could put it onto our Marilyn spray. So our Marilyn spray is called Marilyn Monroe, Divine Feminine Queen. We're going to talk about the energy of queendom today as well. And it says empowerment and sisterhood spray. So I'm going to spray it to invite her to come closer to me and to you watching. And then I'm going to read the message that I have done to go with this spray. All right. And then we'll get to the questions. So firstly, let me just spray this. And if you'd like to just spend a moment thinking about Marilyn, whether you have already a connection with her or an interest, or whether you don't know much about her at all, just see her in your mind's eye in the way that she wishes to step forward today. And for some reason, she always shows herself to me wearing pink fluffy slippers. And I've got my slippers on today, even though I've got my velvet sort of top on. And indeed, even Stephanie Beacham in the interview I've just watched, she was talking about her mother, who was very glamorous. But she said, I never saw my mother in slippers. But you will see Marilyn in slippers. It seems to be her way. I don't know. She just shows me that. Anyway, let's just spray, invite her into our space. And the essential oils that are in this spray are yang yang, neroli, bergamot, lemon, jasmine, vanilla, vetiver, patchouli, and amyris. And so what it is intended to do is to celebrate the extraordinary energy of Marilyn Monroe. And as we are learning in my channeling, hopefully, is so much more than she has been pigeonholed and portrayed as. Sassy, gutsy, a seeker of knowledge, an advocate of sisterhood, and a deep thinker beyond her years. Marilyn is here to help us connect to our sacred femininity and our birthright, to be individual expressions of that in all the different forms. Through her struggles and her triumphs, she learned much, and now in spirit can help steer us where we undervalue and sell ourselves short. Her essence also reminds us of the power of women working together, rather than against each other. She is an alliance builder, a strong ally, and a cheerleader, and she will encourage you to be the best that you can be. She encourages fun, playfulness, and has a side to her that will urge you to live life fully, to keep going, and to embrace freedom and self-expression. As her self-actualized other half, Norma Jean, you may want to call on her whilst completing homemaking and family tasks. One of the first times that I felt her presence was pegging up the washing, a far cry from the red carpet, diamonds and glitz of old Hollywood. She rolls up her sleeves and helps us to get on with it, attending to what requires attention, with the adage of a clean home equals a clean mind. Through this spray, she also encourages you to go for your dreams while staying grounded in who you are. She stands for transformation, beating the odds, succeeding beyond your wildest dreams, and never giving up. Because despite reports to the contrary, she never did. She helps you to feel like a queen in your own world, to stand up for yourself, and to know how to play the game of life. So I also felt that it would be useful for times, call her in and use the spray, or don't use the spray, but just call her in for times when you need to sort of big yourself up, maybe before a big interview or a first date or an important meeting, or when you just need to believe in yourself a little bit more. Marilyn will give you a lift. Also feels as though it would be helpful, her energy, in women's groups, healing sister and mother wounds, for women as they go through big life changes and they have to rediscover who they are, whether that be puberty, motherhood, menopause, divorce, widowhood, or anything else. Feels also as though she is an energy for young women, teenagers, and grown-ups alike, women of all ages. So that's the spray. As I say, there's a limited number of them, but we can make more if they sell out, which they probably will do, and I will link that below. So let's get to some of the questions. She's already making me laugh a little bit because I just see her sort of over there. And she has this, when I was reading the description of the spray and I suppose a summary of how I'm feeling her energy to be, it's as though she's like that. She's really like, can't believe. She's sort of humbled but equally excited in terms of, is that really me that you're talking about? Is that me? So she has that essence, even though she is more evolved because she, of course, she is now spirit. She still carries a little bit of that wound that we all have in terms of not really believing that we are as great as we actually are. So even if you were a queen like Marilyn Monroe and feted by all and sundry, there still was that energy within her in terms of not quite being able to believe, I really did that, I am that. So that's what she's trying to bring out of us, that we come out of the surprise and the awe and stand in our sovereignty and our power as women. For men that are watching this, you're very welcome also, because she's also trying to help us understand the divine feminine energy in our world, which you too carry. And this video is also applicable to you because you all have a mother. Many of you may also have sisters. You certainly may work with women, have friends with women. So understanding this feminine energy is going to be very helpful for everybody on this planet. So I would also like to say before I get to the questions that I just need to acknowledge another queen in our midst at the moment, a queen to be, which is Princess Catherine of Wales, Kate Middleton, as we also call her in the UK, even though, yes, it was her maiden name, because Marilyn's saying we, as women, we are all of it. We are maiden, we are wife, we are, I'll show you some cards that I've got here on my desk in a moment, but I have the maiden card out. I'll come to that in a moment. But I wanted to mention Kate because future queen, needing the Sisterhood tribe to be with her at this time. I did say that I will read on her situation, not necessarily her health, but on her situation, and bring some healing energy through for her, hopefully towards the end of this week, okay? But it will be a different type of video that, and you may like to join me for that. So let's also send good wishes to Kate. And Marilyn's like blowing her a kiss, okay? Because that is what sisterhood is. We put our differences aside, whether you agree with royalty or not. You just see another woman who is maybe in trouble, in pain, in illness. And Marilyn's saying we should actually be there for each other in sickness and in health as women, and take a vow. Very much we take a vow when we get married to be there for our spouse in sickness and in health. But she's saying, imagine if we did that to our sisters, to our female friends, to the women in our life. So strengthening that sisterhood bond via a vow, actually, that we can take privately to each other. And she says also it's important for us to be taking a vow with regards to ourself, that you cannot nourish and be there for another sister unless you nourish and are there for yourself. Okay, it's very true, isn't it? So let's just rethink about that then. So if we are going to start and we're going to talk about sisterhood, how can we be there for each other as sisters if we're not there for ourselves? So we know that change starts with us, and she is just bringing that to our table with an apron on. I see her now with an apron. It's like one of those, it's not an apron that covers this half. It's just, for some reason, it's just tied around the stomach. It's gingham, and it's got a little bit of lace at the bottom, and she's got her fluffy slippers on. So there's something about, because there's very much, as I said in video 1, there's this, it's not a split energy in terms of it being a problem that it's split, because both aspects of her soul energy that came, Norma Jean and Marilyn Monroe, were self-actualized. But it's as though in the sisterhood thing, I'm linking into the Norma Jean energy, but I'm also linking into the Marilyn energy. She's now showing me, and I have seen the photograph, but she knows that many of you referred to it in video 1, the photograph of herself and Ella Fitzgerald at some event, and Marilyn Monroe was well documented in terms of trying to help elevate Ella Fitzgerald, a black woman in the industry at that time, to be more seen, to be more appreciated, to be more respected. So I'm seeing that she was able to embody and demonstrate this sisterhood energy, both as Marilyn and also as Norma Jean. Okay. So let's start then with a couple of questions, and let's see what she wants to say. Okay, some of the questions that I've actually written down aren't necessarily about sisterhood, so I'm going to come back to them in a moment. Let me just ask her about sisterhood. Okay, so sisterhood. It's all basically jumbled up into one, this whole video, because sisterhood and the mother wound and the maiden and aging, it's all connected is what she's saying. I sort of don't know where to start. Let me just start with the first question that I've got in front of me. Okay, I'm going to start with the mother wound, because it's as though to talk about sisterhood and to try to get to a place of sisterhood, she's saying if we're wounded and we carry a mother wound, again, that needs healing first, or it certainly needs to be acknowledged before we can have true sisterhood on this planet. So it starts with the mother. Okay. Now, one thing that came out of video 1 was she was showing me the bathtub constantly. And I talked about that maybe relating to her death. But what I didn't know at the time when I made that video was that there is documentation that Marilyn's mother supposedly tried to drown her as a child. And that feels as though I'm getting a yes from her with regards to that. We also know that Marilyn Monroe's mother was, for most of her life, not there. I believe had a lot of mental illness, whether she was sectioned or certainly was put away as in the old language. But the end result was a lack of the mother as Marilyn was growing up. So the first question from Andy says, does Marilyn have any advice for healing the wound of abandonment, specifically a mother abandoning her child? Okay, so let's ask Marilyn about this then. Do you have any advice for healing the wound of abandonment, specifically a mother abandoning her child? Okay, so she's showing me the raw devastation that it creates and the fracture that it makes within a soul, actually. She's saying it can cause soul fractures, not just heart fractures, when the mother is abandoned. And I'm being reminded now that my own mother was abandoned. So my own mother was given up for adoption before she was born. So my mother carries that wound, and because it hasn't been healed, it's the effects of it are passed down through generations. So I'm still, for example, and you might be, struggling with the consequences of a mother that was abandoned, or you might. So do you understand what I'm trying to say? So it can move down the generations. Okay, but let me just park that for a moment. Just came to me. I feel this is going to be a bit of an emotional video. She showed me animals. Okay, so the first thing I saw, she showed me, when we're talking about abandonment and mothers, is she showed me a cubs, lion cubs, and a lioness. And the fact that in the animal kingdom, usually a lioness will always keep her cubs close to her. She will fight to the death to protect them. I'm just seeing these cubs for some reason. She's showing me cubs. It's as though there's much for us to learn from the animal kingdom in terms of how they protect their own. And she's saying, this is really interesting. She's saying, why I am giving you this piece of information and this direction in which to look with regards to how to mother is because human beings' ability to mother well is being corroded even since I left this planet. And she's showing me the advance of technology, phones, the mother being absent because she's caught up in a digital world. And she's saying, when have you ever seen a lioness with a mobile phone in her hand? Ooh, that hurts. Absolutely. Okay. Because she's right. So she's saying animals still have all of their instincts intact. I actually saw a piece of film recently, and it was of a mother pushing a pram. And I don't know, she just stopped and was holding the pram, but she was also on her phone. And then something must have caught her attention on the phone. So she took both of her hands off the pram, and the pram started to roll away towards the road. She was completely and utterly oblivious that the pram was even moving towards the road, that the baby wasn't there anymore. Fortunately, somebody else saw the pram rolling towards the road and ran to stop it, and a tragedy was averted. The mother then comes out of her stupor and realises what she's done, that her attention was here, whereas actually it should have been there. And we see it all the time. As a mother myself, I'm not completely innocent to that either. It's a part of the human condition. And I did a video recently on Generation Z, the first digitally native generation who've known nothing else other than, for example, smartphones, the internet, social media, which often is what people are caught up in, that world versus the actual world that's there. So if my generation are guilty of it, the next generation have the propensity to be even worse. So this, I think, is why Marilyn's showing me she just showed me cubs, lion cubs and the lioness. And she's saying a lioness would never do that. Look to the animal kingdom. It's as though she's wanting to snap us out of this world we're in over here to the real world in front of us. And she's saying there's nothing more important than nurturing the child. And of course, the child isn't just the child who's 5. The child, your child, is always your child, however old they are, and require attention in different ways. So that's the first thing that I'm being shown by her, that this abandonment wound isn't just about a mother physically being absent. It's about a mother being emotionally absent, with regards to her time, with regards to her attention. And she's now showing me back in the old days. It's almost like I'm seeing like a Victoriana type age, and women in big bustle skirts, that type of era, maybe Edwardian. And I'm being shown a mother in a drawing room with her children, her grown-up children, or even younger children she's showing me. But the mother is actually completely caught up in her embroidery in that day, or her book, or her writing, or her journal. And of course, there's nothing wrong in being caught up with something. She's saying it's about getting the balance right. She says, because even in those days, the mother can make herself absent very easily, even though she is in the same room. So she's saying, yes, I was physically abandoned by my mother in terms of her not being literally in the room with me as I was growing up, walking alongside me. But she says, can we expand this talk on abandonment to also be in relation to emotional abandonment, which can be just as harmful. A mother who is there but isn't really there because they are elsewhere. And where they are is caught up in an alternative reality, a digital world that we're then showing our children is more preferable to the natural world that's outside our door. So we go back to the animal kingdom and the fact that they are more in tune with their offspring, with their surroundings. They've got their priorities right, is what she's saying. Was she ever photographed with like a big cat, even like a lion or a tiger or something? I'm seeing her literally with that. Or maybe it's just symbolic of the energy of the lion, the cat, the big cat, the tiger, the lioness, drawing that into us as women, as a template to help us to remember that we are the lioness, that we are the tigress, that we need to remember these qualities. And she's showing me now the claws that a lioness has to protect her own, that the claws sometimes have to come out for good reason in this world. Okay. So that's the first thing. That's really interesting, isn't it? And I think that challenges all of us to do some more work. And what I mean by that is not going into a meditation or anything. I'm talking about literally trying to change habits. So if you have children, if you've got grown-up children, also, maybe you've got them visiting back from university, or maybe they're much older, you've got grandchildren, making sure that you, for example, maybe switch off the phone, you switch off social media when they come to visit, that they have your undivided attention. She's now also showing me the park and picnics in the park. And again, this generation that is growing up, whereby maybe the mother has produced a beautiful picnic, but they're not actually present at the picnic. They are, in many ways, they've abandoned their child. And she's also talking about the abandonment of children to technology, to video games, to that. So she's not, because from Marilyn's perspective, of course, when she died, none of this was available. Social media wasn't available. Video games weren't available. I'm assuming TV was there, but it would have been black and white. It was a whole different world. So she's looking in at our world now and how we operate with regards to our families and our children. And it feels, excuse me, I can't even say it, feels like an anathema to her. It's just like an anathema. But equally, she's got very clear, concise sight and able to see to the truth of what we're doing. Okay, so let's go back and ask her a bit more. I've got another question here. It says, can you help us with mother wounds that are very deep? How to heal this and the anguish of narcissism from a mother where the love all children need is absent, and it then impacts on all other areas of life. So the energy of a narcissistic mother who is just all about herself, not about necessarily her children, or she puts her own needs above her children. There is a need for constant attention, validation, praise, and she will get it no matter what. Okay, so let's see what Marilyn has to say about this. Narcissistic mothers. Okay, she's giving me just a temperature, and the temperature is just ice cold, ice cold. So no warmth, ice cold, closed heart. But she's showing me that the closed heart, which is unable to give what the child requires, is linked into the wound that the mother is carrying herself. She's saying a narcissist is not born, it is made. It is created, it comes from something. Although we could also say that narcissism, as with every other psychological attribute, can also be a way to experience the world. And this is me talking here from a soul's perspective. The soul comes to experience everything that it can across many different lifetimes. And so if it wants to choose to come in and display narcissism in terms of what does that feel like, how does that impact people, then it can do so. But I'm hearing Marilyn say, back to Marilyn, that a narcissist is created, not made. And it comes from this, it comes from abandonment, is what she's saying. She's saying this is why everything is connected that we're talking about today. It comes from abandonment. It comes from a place of lack. It comes from a place of not being seen, not being heard. Even if you are, there's a wound there that says, but I'm not seen, I'm not heard. So even if you are being, it's as though it doesn't register. It doesn't register. She's taking me up to, and I don't know whether this is medically correct or not, but I'm just going with what Marilyn's just showing me. She's taking me to a part of the brain that is closed off, that is wired differently within the narcissist, whereby they cannot see the consequences of their actions. They are blind to the consequences of their actions, is what she's saying. So if you're coming from a very heart-centered place and a very compassionate place and a very empathic place, a very sensitive place, where you're able to put other people's perspectives, hear other people's opinions center stage, then you're going to be on a completely different wavelength to the narcissist, whether that's a mother, whether it's a partner, whether it's a sister, whether it's a friend. And she's showing me it as two separate wavelengths. I'm literally being shown by her like a ribbon of light or a ribbon of energy. And they are, maybe one is you, and you're not a narcissist. You're operating more from a heart-centered place, and you're just vibrating on this frequency and this energy of flow. And then the narcissist is here, and they're just operating in a much tauter wave band, is what she's showing me now. So the person, she's saying that is heart-centered, that is empathic, that is sensitive. She's showing me the energy stream that this person has running through their veins and their blood and their soul energy as being fluid, like a ribbon, like one of those ribbons, you know, in the Olympic Games where they have the ribbon on a pole and you sort of do that and the ribbon just ripples out and it makes all these beautiful shapes and it's wanting to explore and reach out further. The narcissistic band is taut. It's taut like a rubber band, basically, that is pulled as tight as it possibly can, and there is no more give in it. There is nothing to give. The band is taut, it is tight, it is brittle, it can break at any moment. But the breakage and the fractures are, even though it's unpleasant to experience it if you are a victim of one, the biggest victim of the narcissist is themselves, is what she's saying. It's the biggest victim of the narcissist is themselves, because it's as though they're turning the gun on themselves. They're turning the knife on themselves. They are twisting the blade within themselves. So they become alone. They become even more separate from how they were feeling initially. So if the wound is created from a place of abandonment and separation, their behavior enforces that tenfold and creates a juggernaut that they then cannot stop because they cannot see their behavior. They cannot see where it leads. So she says the problem for people watching this who have a narcissistic mother or anybody with narcissistic tendencies within their family or their group is that you are operating on a completely different wavelength. You are speaking a completely different language. You are not going to be able to make them change. The only thing you can work on is your response to them. So, yes, understand that. So what can help people then to deal with this? And in particular, if it's a relationship where you feel as though you can't maybe walk away, you can walk away from a friend or you can walk away from a colleague if they are impacting your health with regards to narcissism. And that there is a big doorway there. Some people, of course, do walk away from family members, and there is no right or wrong. But many people feel as though some of the people with these qualities in their life, it's not as easy to walk away. It could very well be a family member. It could be a child. It could be somebody you've birthed who has these qualities as well. It can work both ways. So what do you do with the bonds that, and of course there can be karma as well linked into these as well. So what do you do with those type of relationships where you can't necessarily walk away, Marilyn, but you're faced with this energy regularly? Okay, how do we deal with that? Let's see what she says. Let me just see what she shows me. So how do we deal with the narcissist in our midst? I mean, she's laughing and saying get as far away from them as possible, but she's saying this isn't just physical distance. This is also to do with the bandwidth that you give them in your own mind, okay? Because the truth is, you can be with somebody and it's as though you're listening, but it's going in one ear, out the other. You're not absorbing the energy. You are able just to, I call it water off a duck's back, okay? It's literally like, this person is never going to change. They're exhibiting the behavior they're always going to exhibit. I'm going to let it flow over me. Yes, this is easier said than done, but it's one of the things she's bringing up because she's saying get as far away as possible from them. But definitely she's saying it doesn't just have to be physical. It's also emotional. It's how easily you can detach from energies, basically. So she's saying we're starting with the biggest wound. For example, a narcissistic mother. How do I get away from that energy? She's saying, so what you do is you train yourself. You start much smaller in terms of looking at your life and energies that you know are not conducive to your health, your well-being, don't make you happy. And you practice, what does it feel like to move away from that? What does it feel like when I don't do that? What does it feel like when I don't mix with that person? What does it feel like when I don't allow that insult to come into me? Not necessarily, as I say, with regard to the mother. It's like she's showing me a pyramid. It's as though people that are trying to deal with this issue, they're trying to tackle, okay, she's showing me the energy here of hunting. Now, she feels as though she would be anti-hunting, but it's just an analogy, okay? So don't get upset, but it's a good way that she's trying to help us understand this issue. She's saying a hunter doesn't go for the biggest beast in the jungle to start with. They go for the smaller fry, okay? And what she means by that is that you hunt down, not an animal, you hunt down other things in your life that you are able to tackle, that you're able to tackle to the ground, she's saying. Okay, so it could be a friendship. It could be somebody that you don't even see very often, but you know this person isn't good for you. Maybe they are narcissistic. You need to knock it on the head, basically. It's easier to tackle that than a relationship, for example, with a mother that you're seeing every day. That's what she's trying to get to. But as I say, it doesn't have to be just people. It can be energies. She's saying it's energy. It's tackle smaller energies first and then build on them. So how good are you at being able to move away from energies that are not good for you? She's now showing me the energy of a party. Okay. So she's saying in a party, are you somebody that gets stuck with maybe, I don't know, the most boring person there, or or the person that is, I don't know, let's just use that as an example, okay? You're giving them your time, but then you can't get away from them. She's showing me somebody, she said, because I attended a lot of parties. And she's saying often I would be in a party and I would be with the person who never stopped wanting to talk about themselves, which is a very narcissistic tendency as well. Telling you how great they are, telling you what they've done, telling you this, telling you that. And your eyes are glazing over, she's saying, and it's like trying to escape from that part of the room where you are being monopolized by one person's energy. She's saying, how good are you at being able to extricate yourself from that situation? She says, I got quite skillful at it. I'm really seeing her here in a party situation. She's got a beautiful red dress on. She's showing me that the image of herself with the red dress and the white gloves. So it's that sort of era that she's showing me. Parties, lots of men, lots of women as well. She says lots of people just wanted to be seen with me. And she said, I always wanted to make a beeline for that person over there at the party who maybe nobody was talking to, but actually to me, they were the most interesting person in the room because they were this, they were that, they had something to say on whatever. But how to extricate yourself from the people that were very clingy, that just, wouldn't leave you alone. She says it's a skill. She's showing me a chessboard now. She's saying you need to learn how to be able to maneuver through life, how to extricate yourself from situations which you're not enjoying, which are not healthy, and to move to calmer waters or more interesting waters. She says this has everything to do with how you then navigate the big subjects in your life, which might very well be the parent, the partner, the child, where the stakes are very high. Because she's saying, for example, in a party situation, you're not necessarily going to offend anybody greatly, but there's a huge chance of offence because narcissists will like to be offended because then they will create a drama around that. But she's saying you need to learn how to play the game. Okay, so I'm now going to ask you, Marilyn, with regards to whether it's somebody who's been abandoned by their mother or whether they've got a narcissistic mother, there's just a mother wound. What guidance you have what other guidance you have for the actual person on the receiving end? Okay. She's saying the worst thing that you can do is fall into a pity party. She's saying do not become a victim. And she says victimhood is a state of mind. I believe that to be true as well, Marilyn. Yeah. Do not create a pity party. Do not create and become a victim. Because she says then the narcissist has got their prey. They've won. They've won. You have to learn to be able to rise above energies, because all that any type of behavior is, including narcissistic behavior, is energy. It's true, isn't it? Okay. I feel as though one of the reasons she's coming through me is to really help you with mother wounds. So if you're watching me and you've got one, there are 110, 1,000 different ways that it can manifest. You know your story. You can ask Archangel Metatron to help you unpick your story, to not become your story, as Metatron always says, to step out of the narrative of the page that feels as though it's been pre-written and predestined, that I just become this victim caught up as prey of the narcissistic mother. so you can step out of that and become something else. And it's going to take time, it's going to take commitment, it's going to take endurance, but you can do it. But I also think Marilyn is coming in here as a friend, as an ally, as somebody that understands. How did it feel for you, Marilyn, growing up without this security and love of mother? Okay. So I'm just hearing the word absent over and over again. Absent, absent, absent. It's now turning into absenteeism. I'm being shown a school register. And you know, at the start of school, and the teacher says, is Marilyn here? Is Tom here? Is David here? Is everybody, you know, everyone says, yes, yes. It's as though she says, my mother just checked out. My mother checked out. And never clocked in, actually, in terms of even being a mother. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you is also the energy of jealousy that can come with this type of mother. Mothers who are jealous of their children, or their daughters, basically, in particular. And I'd like to ask for your guidance on this. It's something I've observed with my own, actually. And just as an example, it was only 2 days ago, you know, I'm trying to lose weight. I'm just sharing this because hopefully it brings the subject to life for you that are watching. Trying to lose weight. And my mum said to me, she said, oh, well, I'm going to be very jealous if by the summer you're really slim and I'm still fat. And she said it in a jokey way, but I knew she was going to say it, because she says it every time I try and help myself. And I thought into it, and I thought, would I ever say that to my own daughters as I was, if the roles were reversed, and say they were I'm not very overweight, but say they gained a bit of weight and they wanted to lose it. Would I ever say to my girls, I'm going to be jealous if you lose that weight? And I thought, no, it's just not in my psyche to have even thought of it. And then I felt into what is that about? Why would somebody say that, even in a jokey way? And underlying it, yes, there's a wound. There's a wound of feeling inadequate, of feeling, I don't know, but there's a jealousy thing. So I'm going to ask you about that, Marilyn, and see what you'd like to say with regards to it. Okay. She's showing me Italian culture, or particularly Italian culture, you know, like these big mamas. There's no offense to anybody in terms of whatever shape they are, okay? I'm not shaming anybody, because what she's trying to say is she's showing me this big, beautiful Italian mama, you know, in an Italian kitchen with pasta and chocolate and all the lovely things and cheese, and making beautiful meals for her family and taking extraordinary pride in her beautiful daughter. And the wonder of that, and it's almost like Marilyn saying, I want to be in that kitchen and to be nurtured by that type of mother, because that mother is cooking out of love. She's proud of her daughter, really proud of her daughter, wants her to be a better version of herself, maybe, than she is. Because I think that's the truth, isn't it? If you have children, you're hoping that they're going to be a better version of you someday. Each generation should be an improvement on the previous one. So yeah, this thing about mother, jealousy. I want to show you 3 cards. Now, thank you to somebody who sent me a beautiful deck last week. It's called the Creation Codes. I'm sorry if I'm going to pronounce your name wrong. It's just I've never known a Micah. Is it Micah or Mika? Anyway, Micah Blaze and Stacey Tucker created this deck called the Creation Codes. I'm sure you are. I feel a great sense of sisterhood with you already. Apparently you've been watching my work for 10 years, so thank you very much. But this is a beautiful deck that you've made. It arrived in my home last week, and I pulled 3 cards. I'm going to show you what they are. Well, in fact, there's 4. The first is the Maiden. Hopefully my camera is behaving itself today. If it's not, Apologies. But this is the Maiden. But this is the one that kept coming up over and over again, and it's the card of the Dark Mother. We're going to come back to this in a moment, the Dark Mother. We also have the energy of the Queen, and we have the Mother card itself, the pregnant mother. So a beautiful deck that's got representations of these powerful feminine archetypes. But I want to hone in on this Dark Mother. Okay. Now, this is very much symbolic of the shadow wound that the mother maybe holds. I mean, this card can also be just about our shadow generally, but within this reading and this conversation with Marilyn, I want to talk about the Dark Mother energy. Number one, this is me talking. You chose whatever mother you've got. I really, truly believe that. All of my spiritual learning over many years, I've never wavered from that belief that you choose the mother that you've got. You might be tearing your hair out and thinking, why the hell did I do that? Why didn't I choose one like that? But you chose the mother that you've got. Also remember that your mother very well may have been your child in a previous lifetime. I know that my mother was my child in a previous lifetime because she behaves like my child now. So it's like trying to get the equilibrium back, that in this lifetime, mum, you're actually supposed to be my mum. I'm your child. I'm your child. But anyway, I'm not sure whether I'm getting that message through really, but I'm not wishing to shame my mum. I chose her and she's been my best teacher. But the Dark Mother wound. But it's interesting that it's in between these two cards, the Maiden and the Queen, because we come in as the Maiden, innocent, maybe a little bit naive, although the soul is never naive. But remember, we forget a lot of stuff when we're young. We're meant to have forgotten. The Maiden. At some level, all mothers have some type of wounding. It's impossible to have a mother who doesn't have some type of wounding, because A, you're going to inherit some of your mother's wounding. B, you're going to have stuff that at soul level, before you even incarnated in, you said, actually, I'd like to try and sort that thing out. I'd like to tie up those loose ends. And then you might have a situation like mine where you're reversing roles and you're actually, it's all got very confused because you're supposed to be my mum. You're not my child, you're supposed to be my mother, you're not my child. That was last time, but working all that out. But ultimately, all of this is to help us get to this place, which is the Queen. It's the Queen. How can we become the Queen of our own world? Marilyn's shown me the energy of families when you get married now, and there is this competition also that happens. And I feel like she had it in at least two of her marriages, she's saying, competing for the man. It's as though the mother is threatened by the new daughter-in-law coming in. And, I am queen of his world. I'm his mother. I'm queen of his world. But yet then the wife comes in and, I'm the queen of his world. And you've got two queens fighting each other. In the UK, we have something called the mother-in-law joke. But again, the mother-in-law, that whole archetype of the annoying mother-in-law, it's the wound underneath it is one of loneliness, abandonment. I'm not needed anymore by my boy, by my child. Somebody else has come in and taken centre stage. And what Marilyn is saying is really, as women, we have to be at peace with our different stages of life. And she says it's very difficult for you to do that. And I'm talking about from Maiden to Crone, basically, and everything in between, because society doesn't set that as important. Society tries to keep women in the role of the maiden, really, at the moment. It's as though we are, she's saying, glamorizing youth over wisdom and age. So again, she's showing it to me as two different film reels. The old-fashioned, maybe it is the way films still work, I don't know, but in the old days, you had the projector up here, the screen there, and then if you're as old as me, you might remember there was like a clicking sound, Cinema Paradiso, if you ever watched that, it's the clicking sound of the old film. I'm not quite that old. And then you see the film projected, but you can also see the trail of the film before it, so I'm seeing that, but there's two trails. One trail is society's trail, which is prizing youth above everything. Youth is king, youth is queen. Okay, we must preserve our youth at all costs. Get over a certain age as a woman and your opinion isn't really particularly appreciated or wanted. Go and hide in the cupboard over there and become invisible. Yeah? Not in all cultures. I'm being taken to the Italian culture again, and places like that where older women maybe are more prized, but it's because of the roots in the family, she's saying. So you've got that one film track, but then below it, you've got this other film track, which is us as women just trying to get on with our life. And it's like, well, I was a maiden, and I am a wife, or I've been a wife, and now I'm a mother, and now I'm a grandmother, and now I'm a crone, or whatever you want to call it, an older woman. And it's like, but it's not represented up here. It's not represented by society. Where's the gap? There's a huge gap. So it's very difficult to ask you about aging. In fact, there is a picture that I've got. Okay, I found it. In fact, there's two. Number one, a more flattering version, is in this magazine, which is on sale right now. And it's like, what if, quite a good magazine actually, what if Napoleon had won at Trafalgar? What if the Titanic had not sunk? But yeah, what if Marilyn had not died? What would she be looking like? But more, what would she be doing? But it's an older version. But there's another one. I'm sorry, I don't know who's done this. So I'm very happy to credit the person if I can find it. Sorry, here we go. Yeah. And it's almost as though she wants us to look at that because she's stuck in time, looking the way she looked, okay, as she died in her 30s. And what would she have looked like if she had got older? Would she have looked like that? Would she not? I don't know. But the thing is, we all age. We all get lines. We all go grey. The skin sags. All the rest of it is part of the natural cycle of life. So I'm going to ask her about aging. Okay, what have you got to say with regards to people that are finding it challenging to age? Okay, and she's showing me again, which is what she showed me last time, the past life she had as a Chinese woman when she was very old. And she showed me that lined face and stooped over, exactly as she showed me last time, tending to the field. So she's saying, I do have experience at soul level of what that felt like. And she said, truly in that lifetime, it didn't matter to me. It didn't matter to me at all. I paid no credence to it. She's saying, right, this is interesting. She's saying a lot of the difficulty that women have now with the aging process and accepting what they see in the mirror is absolutely 100% directly correlated to media, to the images that you see in the media, which are airbrushed, which are not real. She's saying, I know if I was back now in your age, I would be asked to lose weight, and if I had aged, I would have felt the requirement to do something about it. She says, just think about that. What are you asking people to do something about? You are asking them to do something about being human. Human beings age. Everything ages. Why should you have to do anything about a natural state of being? She's now shown me Pamela Anderson. Pamela Anderson, former Baywatch model, celebrated beauty of her age, is famously now going without makeup and looks pretty stunning. Marilyn is now showing me, I did read this, yes, Marilyn. I don't know whether it was Miss World. There was some sort of Miss World competition, but there was a special category for barefaced beauties where you weren't allowed to wear makeup. Now, Marilyn's saying, I'm not about to lead a non-makeup revolution. She's just saying, I'm giving you these examples of women who are aging in a different way. And she says, people would have probably been surprised that I would have aged in a different way. She says, I probably would have had a crisis first, though, and she's laughing. So, but she says, I would have risen from the ashes. So what she's showing me is if she had lived, she would have been on a collision course to with increasing pressure to look a certain way, to stay young, to stay photogenic, all of that, to starve herself so she looked a certain way with regards to her body. And she said eventually she would have crashed. It would have been a collision course, and she would have risen like a phoenix, and she would have shown a different side of herself. And what she means is not kowtowing to what other people expect her to be or would have expected her to be. But she's saying, I died young, so I didn't have that opportunity in this lifetime. She's showing me a flower, and she's showing me the petals having fallen off the flower. So this is obviously linked into getting older, okay? If you're in full bloom as a rose, you're in full bloom, all the petals are there, fragrant, beautiful, pretty, all the rest of it. As you get older, the petals fall. But what she's showing me, the stamen, I think that's the right term, the stamen that is in the middle. And the stamen is actually the most powerful part of the flower. She's saying because it creates life. So my biology isn't all there, but I'm getting the gist that what she's trying to say is when the beauty fades and falls away to a degree, although you can still be beautiful, of course, as an older woman, there is it's like the stamen is the true fertility. It's interesting. She says it's the true fertility because the older you get, the closer to death you are, okay? But actually the closer you are to just starting the whole wheel again, to eternal life. It's the greatest irony that actually youth, which is prized, and you look a certain way, and so that is the end, that's what everyone aspires to. But in many ways, you can be furthest away from exit point at that point. But exit point is where you regenerate, where you rebloom, where you come back even stronger. You come back even stronger. Yeah. So the rose, very much like all stages of the female, all stages of the rose are to be appreciated. There is beauty in every age. Okay, so take me to an older woman now and give some guidance to her in terms of what she sees when she looks in the mirror. Please, Marilyn. Okay, so she's got me sitting in front of a mirror. It's not me, I'm just seeing a person sitting in front of a mirror, an older woman. She says the true beauty shines through as you age. She's talking about, I'm being shown the eyes. They say that you can see a person's soul energy through their eyes. And she's saying, as you get older, she says, have you ever really looked in a very old person's face? And she says, you're not distracted by, I don't know, the hair, the lipstick, whatever. You see the essence of who they are, because their eyes become luminous. Their eyes can become luminous in those that have true beauty. And of course, true beauty isn't linked into superficial cosmetic beauty. It's to do with the essence that's inside them. And it grows as you age. It grows as you age. There was a question here about beauty from one of you. The question is this: I would like her to talk. I say, Marilyn, I'd like you to talk, please, on the famous quote by Dostoevsky, "Beauty will save the world." Of course, she was beautiful, and I don't mean just physical beauty. I feel like beauty and love go hand in hand. Everything that's true, good, and just. Positive emotions that fill our hearts when we encounter beauty in nature, people, and situations. So beauty will save the world, Marilyn. Beauty will save the world. What do you think about that? She says there's so much ugliness in the world right now. There's so much ugliness. There's so much hatred and separation and ego and shallowness and superficiality. And beauty is being looked for in the wrong places. Beauty can be found in the most unexpected places. Yes, I was prized for my physical beauty, but she's now shown me the beauty of Audrey Hepburn. And it feels as though there is not a regret, but she's just reflecting on the fact that Audrey Hepburn was very beautiful as she was young, but she was also very beautiful when she was old. And you were able to see that progression. And she says Audrey did it effortlessly. She says, I would have liked to have been like Audrey and been able to have modelled that, both physically, but also in terms of what Audrey Hepburn was able to do, which was showing her real beauty, which was a humanitarian heart. I feel as though Marilyn had a humanitarian heart, but wasn't able, in the short period that she was here, to properly demonstrate it, because she's saying, I had been boxed in. You may also say that I had boxed myself in. She says, I would eventually have fought my way out of that box, though. So there's definitely a message from her today that I think people assume that she was just on one timeline, and it would have, if she hadn't died when she did, it would have ended a certain way. She'd have just carried on, maybe, I don't know, getting more cosmetic tweaks or doing films and staying as this sort of femme fatale energy. And I don't see that with her. It feels as though what she's trying to say is that she would have enjoyed the opportunity to have bloomed into more of a humanitarian in the way that Audrey Hepburn was able to. And she's really putting Audrey Hepburn up there in terms of a role model. She's saying, I have enormous respect for Audrey Hepburn because it's as though she was the whole package, is what she's saying to me. And I think if I can say, I think you are minimising your own impact there, Marilyn, because comparing a 30-year-old life to, I don't know how old Audrey was when she died, certainly maybe 80s, it's like it's totally two different things. But there's definitely an energy of slight regret that she wasn't able to bloom in the way that Audrey was able to show other aspects of who she was, especially the humanitarian stuff. What would you have liked to have done as more of a humanitarian if you'd been able to, as you say, get out of the box, be less identified with films? I do. So what she's saying is women and children. So it definitely feels as though there would have been work linked into women, women who've been abused, women who've been beaten, women who've been neglected, women who are unseen, she's now showing me, it's like she's saying, oh, I'm having fun here, because it's like she's saying, I'm going into like a make-believe box of what I could have been and what I could do. But she's saying it's also given me ideas for another incarnation. So the box of tricks, as it were, that she's rummaging around in terms of that would be a great thing to come back and do, is definitely linked into helping sisterhood. And she's showing me now going into schools and educating girls, and now I've got the Norma Jean energy coming back in, and I'm being taken to home economics. That's showing my age. I don't even know if they teach home economics anymore at school. I loved home economics. Cookery, for those that don't know. I remember we used to have to take a straw basket into school with whatever we were making was in the straw basket. And in Yorkshire, the trend in the 80s was you had do you remember, girls? You had like a cotton covering over your basket, and it was just so pretty. It was so feminine. It was so homely. It was just, I really loved that. I loved it. They don't do it anymore. I remember when my girls learnt to cook at school, I was just appalled. It was the day that they learnt how to make cakes, although I'd already taught them, because that's part of being a good mother, I think. They could bring in ready-made cakes, and the lesson was on decorating them. And I just thought, my God, how far we've fallen. But anyway, I'm going off on one here. But Marilyn showed me home economics. She showed me back to old things like the embroidery, cooking, homemaking, teaching girls crafts that have been forgotten, being the mother for some girls who don't have mothers to show them, or an aunt to show them, or a sister to show them, bringing back, she's saying, oh, I'm really getting into this now. I really feel like there's an energy where she'd love to come back and be not just an advocate for women, but an advocate for girls. It's like an educator. It's somebody who comes in to, she's showing me now girl gangs, where girls group together and are bitchy and nasty, and in some cultures, fighting on the street and pulling each other's hair out. And she's saying, I just want to get in there and stop them and get them to look at each other. And she's showing me now two girls brawling in the street, and they've got each other's hair, and she's saying, number one, they've forgotten that they're human beings. Number two, they've forgotten that they're sisters, that they've forgotten the sisterhood bond. She says there's so much work to do on that, and she's imploring anybody that's watching this video that works with young girls, that is bringing up girls, that is working with girls, and by girls I'm talking old girls as well, like me, okay, older women, just women, to remember their power, to step into this energy of being the queen. However, she's saying so many get stuck in the mother wound and they can't get past it. The mother wound is there to help you grow, to help you explore. It's to give you something to fight back against. And to be honest, if I go back to my story with my mum the other day about, I hope you're not going to be slim for summer because then I'm going to feel awful. Do you know what? I didn't say anything to her. What I actually felt was I thought, right, I'm going to show you. I am going to show you. I was already going to, because I was doing it for myself, I'm not doing it for anybody else. But the point was, I took that energy, which is a mother wound energy within her, and I thought, I am going to now take that and I'm going to do something constructive with it. Does that make sense? So that's what you have to do with this type of energy. You take it, you channel it, and you use it constructively. And then by doing that, you're then demonstrating something positive for the next generation as well. So, back to this quote, beauty will save the world. Yeah, beauty will save the world. Look for the beauty in each other, she's saying. Look for the beauty in other women. She's saying many women have their defences up. They are looking for any opportunity to bring each other down. They're looking for the chink in another woman's armour. They're looking for the punch before the punch even comes, and it may never come, or the spiteful word, even though the spiteful word may never come. And it's because it's been set in place by the mother wound. So it gets healed one word at a time, one action at a time, one breath at a time, one reaching out at a time, she's saying. So alliances between women, friendships between women, but we're sort of back to the beginning of this video. It's also about the relationship you have with yourself. Gratitude, appreciation from whence you've come. Do you agree with what I said earlier, Marilyn, that we choose our mothers? Yes, she's saying. Yes. She says it's a very hard pill for many to swallow, though. And most women might want to punch you in the face when you say that. She says, but we need to put down the boxing gloves. We need to put down the boxing gloves. And in your culture, Amanda, she said it'd be much better to sit down with a cup of tea and to talk over our differences, and to learn from each other, to listen to each other. There's not enough listening that goes on in the world at this moment in time. And also, she's saying, if older women could be braver to talk about that aspect of their life and how it feels to be older, but equally not to make it a scare story, because then the younger generation will be more wanting to listen. So what I mean by that, what she means by that is, this is me talking now, there seems to be something in our culture and in our psyche as human beings that maybe it's a jealousy thing as well, sometimes, or an inferiority and an inadequacy wound, which is that as we get older, it's that thing about, well, you've got it easy. It's like, in my day, we had to do this, and it creates an instant barrier between the young generation and the older generation. So she's saying there needs to be a bridge created between the two generations so that you can both learn from each other. That the younger generation can learn from the older generation, and the older generation can show that actually there's beauty in getting older, that it can be a chance to do other things with your life, to show other things about yourself, very much like Audrey Hepburn did. So there needs to be more of this communication between the two groups. I'm going to give you another example from my own life, just because I think it's a good way of teaching this, what Marilyn's trying to say, in terms of the older generation not just passing down their fears and their traumas and this is what happened to me in my day, because there isn't an appreciation of, yes, I hear you, I'm listening to you, I hear what happened to you, but it's not now 1960 or 1950 or 1940. Things have moved on, things have improved. So I remember when I was first pregnant with my first child, and Mum would always go on and on about how terrible her birth had been, how awful it was, the worst experience of her life, and how terrified she was. And I was about to give birth. And so I took from that, I thought I'd never do that to my own children. Yeah, sure, birth can be painful. There's no getting around that. But it can also be beautiful. It can also be all sorts of things. But you don't set up the next generation with stories of fear and panic and dread. And I think that's sometimes where we go wrong. And then the young generation just close their ears. It's like, I don't want to hear that, because you don't understand. So there has to be more sharing of the positive from the older generation, or what I've learnt. Would that be fair to say, Marilyn? Yes, absolutely. And she's showing me now, she's saying in my young years, I didn't get to live very long, but this absence of the mother, the mature mother, who was able to look back on her life and say, well, okay, I did this, but actually it would have been better if I did that. I learnt from that. Sharing experiences, sharing failures, yes, but it's like what you've learnt from it. Now, did Marilyn have a grandmother that she grew up with? Let me just have a look at this. I'm pretty sure she's saying yes, but I just want to make sure. She says, trust me. Yes, I did. Grandmother, Marilyn Monroe. Let me get her name. I wonder if there's a photograph of her. Della? Oh. Oh, no. Why am I picking up your grandmother then? Because it says your grandmother died when you were 1. Her maternal grandfather had died when her mother, Gladys Pearl Monroe, was just 7. And her grandmother died when Marilyn was just 1 year old. Right, okay. I'm going to ask you about that then. You said you knew your grandmother. Okay. No mother, no grandmother. She says, I felt my grandmother's spirit more than I ever felt my mother's, even though my mother lived longer. Yeah, that makes sense. I felt her guiding spirit around me, even though I never knew her physical presence, or certainly do not remember it. This is Marilyn talking. She says, they all bailed out on me. No mother, no grandmother. Adrift. Absent. Abandoned. But look what I became. But look what I became. And she's saying that to anybody that's stuck in the energy of victim and pity. I said in video 1, she is as far removed from a victim as you can get. She wasn't a victim. Also don't believe she killed herself. But anyway, that's for another day. So no mother, no grandmother, no familiar family structure. But look what I became. I transcended it. I transcended it. Great power in that. I'm going to end on a lighter note. This is a great question. This is the final question for video 2. Don't know who sent this in, but thank you. It says, does Marilyn have any fun, va-va-vroom, getting ready to dazzle rituals to share with us? Also, can she speak on what it is to be Venusian here on Earth? How can we tap into that Venusian spirit? So Venusian spirit is the planet Venus, planet of love, pink ray. So Marilyn, any tips for us to get our va-va-vroom, getting ready to dazzle rituals to share with us? Okay, let me just see what she says. Always focus on your best feature is what she's saying. Okay, so always focus on your best feature. What is that? Is it your boobs? Is it your eyes? Is it your hair? Is it your height? Is it your bottom? I don't know, whatever it is. That's physical, of course. But I'm feeling this question is more about getting ready to go out, on a hot date, or, I don't know, an anniversary, or getting ready to go on holiday. I mean, that's a good one. Getting ready to go on holiday, the dreaded beach shot, getting into a bikini again. Can you give us any advice for that, Marilyn? She says, she's saying, give it your best shot. I love that. I love that. It's just so true. Give it your best shot. What are you waiting for? It's like she's showing me now walking with pride. She's saying, and this is true, she's saying it's how you carry yourself. How you carry yourself, how you walk. We've all been on the beach. We've all seen other people on the beach. And there are people on the beach, you might be one of them, and they're sort of like, they're walking to the beach. I've done it myself. And it's like you're trying to hide away. You really want the ground to swallow you up, and you don't want anybody to really be looking at you because you're feeling paranoid about this or that. Versus the woman who might look exactly the same as you, but she's walking into that beach with pride, with gusto. She's owning it, is what Marilyn's saying. She's owning it. She's owning it. what is she owning? She's owning her own body. She's owning her own self. And to hell with anybody else, because it's her life. It's her time on planet Earth, and you're meant to come here and have fun. So definitely it's to do with the way that you carry yourself, is what she's saying. She's saying, stand up, stand up, put your back out, put your boobs out, whatever it is. Seriously, it's like how we carry ourselves. Because sometimes we can be very like that, especially if you're tall like me. We just naturally do it. We don't realise we're doing it. So put your back, do it, just carry yourself well. It's to do with presence, okay? She says that makes far more of an impact than any posh outfit or brand new lipstick. She's saying, even though I did like my lipsticks. So yeah, she likes a bit of lippy. But have fun with it. Have fun with it. Own who you are. Okay. Second part of that question, can she speak on what it means to be Venusian here on Earth? I think it's very much tied into what we've been talking about in terms of beauty will save the world, but it's to do with inner beauty. It's to do with looking for beauty. Venusians often are quite beautiful anyway. Princess Diana was another one. Again, died quite young. Is there something about the Venusian energy that can die quite young? I mean, she's saying not always, of course. It's not predestined that has to happen. But she said it can be that the flower can wilt quite quickly here on Earth because it's quite a dense planet. So that can be true. But it doesn't have to be the case, okay? So don't worry if you know that you've got a Venusian spirit. Doesn't mean you're about to keel over or anything like that. But it's to do with, she says, where you can wither away is when you forget the importance of beauty. And you need to be looking for it. And again, we're going back to, technology and phones, and, I'm as guilty of it as anybody probably. It's very easy to wake up and you look at the negative stuff. You're not searching for the beauty. She's saying tomorrow morning when you wake up, try to search for a beautiful piece of music, or the first thing you do, rather than going on your phone or looking at the news in terms of what horrors are happening now, go and look at a beautiful painting, or look at the beautiful sunrise, or go outside and smell the flowers and actually look at the flowers, or stroke your cat or your dog or whatever it is, but look for beauty. She says beauty, looking for beauty and appreciating beauty, because there is beauty in everything, in every state, is a way to help keep us alive. And by alive, I mean feeling alive, feeling vibrant, okay? Also creating beauty. So whether that be via artwork, whether it be via a piece of music, whether it be from, whatever it is, but creative beauty is also important, she's saying as well. So be creative. She's now showing me a makeup artist, somebody who actually enjoys putting on the makeup, creating different looks, different faces. A hairdresser is very much about creating beauty every day. She's showing me a hairdresser, and somebody goes in and they've got very little hair, but that hairdresser makes that woman or man feel as good as they possibly can with whatever they've got, okay? And she's really getting into it now. It's like dressers, personal shoppers. It's that type of energy. But that's or a gardener. Anybody that is just trying to make somebody feel good, or make an area feel good as well. She's saying it's endemic now across the world that many towns are suffering economically and are starting to look ugly. But you can make an ugly area, you can brighten it a little bit just by, a lick of paint, or there's a patch of beach where I am. I mean, the beach is obviously beautiful and doesn't really need beautifying, but just as an example, and somebody, the community basically have created this little area of the beach where people colour stones and they write on the name of a loved one, or they paint a flower, or do whatever they want to do. And it's just like a little area of beauty on this bit of beach. But, that could be anywhere in any part of the country. Near where I live, there was a strip of land by a road. It was pretty nondescript. It was just barren. Somebody took it upon themselves. They've just planted some plants that it looks beautiful a year later. It's that type of thing, okay? So beauty helps to keep us alive, and that's very Venusian. When you're tapping into that, you're tapping into the Venusian spirit. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it there today. Let's just see if there's any final messages from her. Let's use the spray one final time. Okay. She's reminding us of the importance of affirmations, to wake up and say, today is going to be a beautiful day. Okay, glass half full, not glass half empty. Today is going to be a beautiful day. I am beautiful. You are beautiful. Seeing the beauty in each other, seeing the beauty in the world. Beauty will save the world is what she's saying. Okay, lots of love. Thank you very much to Marilyn. Let's just see where she's off to now or what she's doing. It's now like she's morphing into... I'm seeing her in a checked shirt. Feels more like Norma Jean type energy. Okay, she's morphing into like it's like an energy of a nurse. Okay, the mother who nurses the child when they're sick, but asking us to nurse each other, to tend to each other, to support each other, because she's saying the whole world is sick right now. And that's in a very wide term, you know? It's as though I'm being drawn to it's like Florence Nightingale type energy. It's like Crimea War or First World War, when lots of women went onto the battlefields as nurses in these put-up tents with hardly any implements, and they didn't feel as though they had what they needed to tend to the wounds that were in front of them. But even if they weren't able to save the patient, she's saying, the love and the tenderness and the softness made a lasting impression on that person's soul before they left. She says, be a little bit more tender, a little bit more attentive to each other's wounds. So yeah, I just feel like this great big flock of, really feel like I'm tuned into the pool of what would have been wartime nurses that just were ordinary women, ordinary mothers, people's sisters, who just signed up to help at a time when they needed to. And she's saying that time has come again. It doesn't necessarily mean war. It just means that we are at war already with ourselves. We're at war with each other. We need to be peacekeepers and guardians of each other's hearts. I'll leave you with that thought, she says. Okay. Thank you very much, Marilyn. Thank you very much, everybody that's watched this video. I will link the first one below. Oh, she gave me a song, by the way. The song was, this probably is for video 3. I don't know when I'm going to do video 3, but we haven't talked yet about her relationships and her divorces and love and romance, because she gave me the song Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow by the Shirelles, I think it was. Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow? It's definitely got that song from her. So that will be video 3, talking about romance, partners, unrequited love, divorce, all of that. Stay tuned, guys. Lots of love. Thank you very much. Bye-bye for now. Bye.